everyone. Today I'm going to show you the best settings to have for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. If you want to stick around to the end, I'll give you a reason as to why I have my settings the way they are, but for now, these are just the settings. So, as you can see, I've just got this is what my global settings for my graphics card is, which is a 3080. Just not TI, just a 3080, and these right here are the settings for Modern Warfare 2. You'll note that I haven't actually changed all that much, except for the ones in bold, obviously. So I've got low latency mode to ultra, maximum performance for power management, and that's it. But you might want to pay attention to this. If you have a G-Sync monitor, like I do, it is good to put on G-Sync and V-Sync. If you do not have a G-Sync compatible monitor, I would recommend leaving this off. But that's all you need to do for the Nvidia control panel. Put low latency mode to ultra, power management to maximum performance. Alright, here we are. This is my settings in Modern Warfare 2 itself. As you can see, full screen borderless. Reason being is that sometimes I like to alt tab, and full screen exclusive doesn't do that. Make sure that dynamic resolution is off. Turn off VSync for gameplay. If you're using the G-Sync monitor, leave the graphics card VSync on in your Nvidia control panels, but leave this one off. VSync for menus, I just put on. It can be on or off, it doesn't really matter. And that's it for this one. Now, moving into quality. This is where it gets interesting. Do not use DLSS. It simply makes the game look terrible. It just does. So use Fidelity FX CAS. I have my render resolution at 101, and that is simply because I found it to be slightly sharper at 101 than it is at 100, and it doesn't seem to stutter as much. I've got the Fidelity Strength at 100, Filmic SMAA, Ultra Quality, Video Memory Scale. This is the one that you might need to have a mess around with. I found that if I had it at the default, which is 85, I actually crashed and stuttered more. But at 80 it was too low, so I upped it by 1 each time, and I found to be a sweet spot was 83 for me. Entirely up to you. Now, this is based off of if you want to get a very nice looking game, but you don't want to have the stutter. If you just want to have the most frames, turn everything to low. But this is if you want a good, in between. So texture resolution, high. Texture filter anisotropic, high. Nearby level of detail, high. Distant level of detail, high. Clutter draw distance, long. I found that if you have clutter draw distance long on some maps, it can cause that black-white glitch. So if you see that, turn it to short, otherwise long. Particle quality, high. Particle quality level, very low. Bullet impacts and sprays on, shader quality high, tessellation all, terrain memory max. This is entirely up to you. On-demand texture streaming, I leave it on because I have quite fast internet. But if you don't, I would leave this off. Streaming quality normal, volumetric low, deferred physics quality low, water caustics on, shadow maps normal, screen stage shadows high, spot shadow quality high, spot cache ultra, particle lighting ultra, ambient occlusion off, screen space reflections high, weather grid ultra, low latency as we set in the Nvidia control panel, it should be reflected here. If it's not, then you'll need to go back into the control panel and redo it. Depth of field off, motion blur off, weapon motion blur off, film grain at 0.2. If you don't have film grain on, for some reason, it destabilizes the game. Don't ask me why, but that's what I found. So those are my quality settings, and we'll quickly look at the view settings. So we have 90 field of view. Anything more than that causes it to be a bit not as stable, but again, if yours works at more than that, that's fine. Everything else I left at default. So those are the best settings to get as a good balance between quality and frame rate. All right, here we are. So what I did is I went through and tested every single option individually in borderless window and full screen um, to see what difference it made. So max, this was everything at maximum graphical fidelity, everything maxed. This is the frame rate I got, was an average of 127, 183. The next setting is I turned off volumetric quality to low, and it jumped up to 136, 111, and 91. Now, for the rest of these down here, so all of this, basically what I did was I forgot to turn volumetric back to high. So these frame rates are all with volumetric low, all the way down here. So my control was a little bit off, but you can still, if you want, you can just minus 9 from here, 11 from here, and like I think that's what, like 7 from here. Simple. But I turned off the weather effects and that did nothing. So you can see that the weather effects do absolutely nothing for your frame rate. Doesn't affect anything. Static reflections low. I actually got less frames by 1 frame. Not much, but it's still less. With static reflections on low. Screen space off. As you can see, it does nothing to the control. Nothing at all. Except it knocks down the low 5. Other than that, it's fine. Ambient occlusion was a big jump. So that was a 7 frame gain on average. But the low 5, low 1 was the same. Particle quality low. Doesn't really affect it at all. Spot cache low. Actually lost frames in both regard there. So I wouldn't recommend turning spot cache low. Spot quality low, again, even worse. My low 1 dropped all the way down to 83 as if it was on max. So no, just leave that high. Screen space shadows, again, a knockdown from the low 5 from the control. So remember, this one here is the control. I'm actually going to highlight that. So this is the control one that I did. So we're comparing everything to these. So that was that. Screen space shadows, as I said, even was low. Shadow map, very low. This actually put me up to 141, on average. So that's a nice gain. Water caustics, that was off completely. No difference. No difference whatsoever. So leave that on. Deferred physics, that was a big one. So that's entirely up to you, but I would recommend turning that off. That seems to be a big hit on frame rate. Stream quality low, doesn't do anything. Texture streaming off. The reason this is why I have it on, I actually got way worse frames in compared to the low 1 to the control, just with texture streaming off. But as I said, if you don't have the internet to keep up with it, I'd recommend leaving it off. Terrain minimum quality, again, lost frame rate. Tessellation off, again, lost frame rate. Shader quality low, this was the biggest one. Jumped my average frames up to 148 from 136. So that's a good one to leave low. Bullet impact off, again, didn't do anything, so might as well leave it on. Particle quality, I'm sorry about my typing. I was doing this on my phone as I was testing because I don't have 2 screens. So that's why my spelling is atrocious. Particle quality level very low, which is different to particle quality. This put it up quite a lot. So, it put it out to 142. It jumped up the low 5 to 125 and 111. Particle quality itself, 140, 125, 111. And then we've got, so those ones are a good one to leave off as well. Clutter, draw, low, again, hit the frame rate a little. Distance, LOD, low, didn't do anything. Nearby LOD, low, that hit it by a couple of frames. Texture filtering, anisotropic, low. put up a little bit, but on average not much. And texture resolution very low, only puts up the frame rate by like 2 on average, but drops the low 5. So again, that's up to you whether you think it's worth the 2 frames. I personally don't. So this is a test. So what I did is I took this one here, I took all of the ones that had the most effect and I turned them off. So I had particle level very low, deferred physics off, shadow map very low, ambient occlusion off, and volumetric low, and I got an average of 162, low 5 of 143, and a low 1 at 125. So pretty good frame rate. On top of that, I also dropped the shaders to low, and that gave me even more. I got a 168, a 167, a 143. The problem with this one is it didn't look as nice as I wanted. It looked very pale, and I didn't pay money for a 3080 to make it look worse. But if, again, that doesn't bother you, chuck shaders on low as well as these ones, and this is the frame rate you're looking at. Now remember, my frame rate won't go higher than 168, and that's simply because my monitor, the VSync is on in the Nvidia control panel, so it won't go higher than that. 168 is actually quite interesting that it got to there, since my monitor is kept in the Nvidia control panel with VSync at 165, but interesting nonetheless. And then this is another one I decided to do. So another test, so I changed it and I had ambient occlusion off, shadow map very low, volumetric low, deferred physics low, and particle level quality low. And not quite as good, as you can see. So 150, 111, 91, not great. And then these ones here is for full screen exclusive. So basically I did full screen exclusive with all of these, and that came up with all of those on, and that came to 157, 125, 111. And then I did full screen exclusive with these, and that was 158, 143, 125. Why full screen exclusive is lower than this one at full screen borderless, I'm not entirely sure, but it seems to be that it seems to run better in borderless. So take that for what you will. So those are all the tests I did to make sure and see how much difference each individual setting made to the frame rate of the game. And as you'll see, there are some big ones. Ambient occlusion hits it hard, shadow map hits it hard, deferred physics hits it hard, shader quality hits it hard, particle quality level, and particle quality hit it hard. Everything else doesn't really impact it, so you might as well leave it on high and make it look nice. So yeah, that's the reasoning as to why my settings are the way they are. They may not be perfect compared to these tests here. You'll notice that there is a slight difference if you go back. And that's the reason for that is I wanted my deferred physics to be low rather than completely off. I wanted my water caustics to, I just wanted it to look a little bit better, and I didn't mind losing the little bit extra frames for it. But if you want to get and squeeze as many frames out of it as possible, while still keeping it looking okay, this one here, these are the ones you need to turn off. Okay, you need particle level very low, deferred physics off, shadow map very low, ambient occlusion off, volumetric low, and shaders low, and that will get you the better and most consistent frame rate, and also without stutter. That's the main thing, is I couldn't stand the stutter, so this is what fixed it for me, was changing this around. Now, I tested this on Nvidia driver. Let me just find out. I'll pull this up and see if I can find out what driver I was on, because I have to try and remember. So I am currently on, so I tested it with both drivers. So this is the newest one, the hot fix for Modern Warfare 2 that Nvidia released. It is not available through Experience. You have to download it from Nvidia's website itself, 52661. that is the driver that I'm on right now. However, I also tested this on, I think it was, let me just double check. I think it was 5.17.25 was the one I had before this. And this is, I did the tests and they were all the same. So if you don't want to go through and download the latest driver, this will work on the older ones too, with no stutter. So that's all of it. I hope it really helped you, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.